Do you believe in alternate universes? You are listening to Delayed Replay, the improvised movie review podcast. Wink. Everything is fine here. We're all fine. Just sit tight and listen to them talk about the movies they definitely saw. Don't delay. We have to listen right away. Hey everyone, this is Steven. Quick note before the episode. For some reason, like some technical reason, not sure how this happened, but there are some moments throughout the episode here and there where like it sounds like me and Jake are like talking at the same time and voices are overlapping and whatnot. When we recorded, we were talking like one at a time, pretty much, and this is just another one of those times where those weird overlap things happen, like delays in audio and whatnot, or like early reactions as you hear them. But hey, delay is in the title, delayed replay, so I guess it kind of works. But anyway, there wasn't much that I could do about some of these, but I tried to do what I could in the spots where I could do things. But just sit back, enjoy the episode as we discussed Soul. We'll swallow your soul. Hey everyone, this is Steven. Quick note before the episode. For some reason, like some technical reason, not sure how this happened, but there are some moments throughout the episode here and there where like it sounds like me and Jake are like talking at the same time and voices are overlapping and whatnot. When we recorded, we were talking like one at a time, pretty much, and this is just another one of those times where those weird overlap things happen, like delays in audio and whatnot, or like early reactions as you hear them. But hey, delay is in the title, delayed replay, so I guess it kind of works. But anyway, there wasn't much that I could do about some of these, but I tried to do what I could in the spots where I could do things. But just sit back, enjoy the episode as we discussed Soul. We'll swallow your soul. Hello, listeners. This is another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we talk about movies, even if they're a few months old. This one actually came out in June. We've been meaning to talk about it for a while. It's the Pixar film Soul. And joining me to talk about this film is Jake Damon from IPC.
Hello, listeners. Hello, Steven. I'm so excited to talk about Soul because this is one of my favorite Pixar movies of the last decade at least. I saw it in theaters 4 times and I am so excited to talk about it.
Nice. Yeah, that's very high praise. Overall, what have your thoughts been about Pixar films in general? Because they've been with us for a long time.
Pixar is a staple of families in general. Obviously they're geared towards kids, but adults can like them too, can love them. They're favorites among all ages, and they've had way more hits than they've had misses. I haven't even seen The Good Dinosaur, but I keep hearing that it's kind of on the lower end. And then Brave, I don't think I saw that one, but that one kind of gets tossed toward the bottom. But everything else has had really high praise. I love Inside Out so much. That's been one of my favorites of the last decade. Coco. I really enjoyed Onward too. I just feel like one of my favorite superhero movies of all time is The Incredibles. I don't know. There's so many Pixar movies to talk about. I think one of the most notable ones is Toy Story, just because that came out the year I was born, actually, and that's the one I remember growing up with since day one, and so that's kind of in my head as one of my all-time favorites too. But yeah, Pixar is definitely one of my favorite companies out there making movies.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, growing up with the VHS tapes of Toy Story 1 and 2 and A Bug's Life, and I think Monsters Inc. was the first one I saw in the theater.
Same.
So there are some so there are some that I've seen in the theater. Like, I haven't seen all of them in theaters, but like, it's an experience, especially if it's a good one.
Yeah.
Cars 2, I didn't care much for Cars 2, but Cars 3 was better, so I guess it's good that that trilogy ended on a somewhat satisfying note.
Yeah.
And yeah, The Good Dinosaur, I can't remember like my exact opinion of it. I'm actually like trying to look it up because, okay, so like here's a comment that I put like after I posted that I was like watching it like last year. I didn't cry, but it was okay. The visuals for the setting were great, even if I didn't really like the character designs as much. I feel like that one isn't as bad as people say it is, but it's sort of middle of the road. Could have been much better. I think I watched it like back to back when I was like doing this little dinosaur marathon. So I watched that 2000 movie Dinosaur that Disney
oh my gosh.
put out.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I had that one on VHS, and I think I also saw it in theaters. And I had like the Aladar hand puppet thing that was like made of rubber. It was like really weird.
Yep. Oh man.
I think my favorite Pixar movie is that it's a tie between Toy Story 3 and WALL-E.
Yeah,
and
WALL-E's great. So is Toy Story 3.
Yeah, just like, you know, giving emotions to like robots, and like they do that with all sorts of things, like, you know, giving emotions. It's that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like Pixar's MO is like, what things can we give emotions to that have never been given emotions to?
Yeah. And they obviously give the viewers emotions,
right.
And that's how they know they've done their job.
Yeah. I forget where I saw it, but it was a meme that was like going through the timeline of Pixar movies, and they're like, oh, let's give toys emotions, let's give robots emotions, and then they get to Inside Out, it's like, let's give emotions emotion.
Yeah, it's a very popular meme. It's great. Yep. Right before Soul, they had this short, as they usually do. It was called Burrow.
Yes.
And so it follows this rabbit who's like deep down underground, and like this short was kind of a mix of 2D and 3D animation. Like I liked how it was like switching in between, but like how did you feel about that style?
It's very cool. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, I think it's called The Adventures of Gumball, or The Wonderful World of Gumball or something, on Cartoon Network, but that show kind of became known for its like mixed media style, where like you'd have the main characters were like 2D, and then like lots of other things were 3D, and the mixture was just really eye-catching and unique, and unlike anything I've really ever seen before. And that's what this reminded me of a lot, and that I just kept getting those vibes from that, and so much so that I looked up on IMDb what, you know, who had made this short, and there was one guy that is involved with Gumball that is involved with this, and like maybe they brought him on because he knows how to do that type of thing. But I really loved the visual style.
Yeah, I've never actually sat down to watch The Amazing World of Gumball. Like I knew of it, but it wasn't a show that I tried checking out. Like I watched other Cartoon Network shows. I think that was like around the time they had stuff like regular shows. Right?
Yeah. That was actually a good era of Cartoon Network, in my opinion. And Gumball was actually really funny. It was just a very funny show. It always made me laugh.
Do you remember when Cartoon Network had like the town that like all the characters?
Oh yeah. Do you mean the like in between shows they'd have like little clips? Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I thought Miguzi was really cool. The 3D animated underwater thing.
Yeah, yep.
Good times.
Oh yeah, brings up some memories.
Yeah, nostalgia. Yep. I don't know. So yeah, this rabbit is like trying to like find a place to dwell, and it keeps accidentally ending up in like these dwellings of these other animals. Like there are these gophers that are like working out, and they get like irritated when they see that this rabbit has like gotten into their place. And I guess these were mice, and it's like there's definitely no room for the rabbit there with how many there are. What'd you think of like all these different like interactions? Like, did it feel repetitive?
They were definitely unique because, like, basically it starts off with this rabbit who gets kicked out of his old hole. And so he's like looking for a new home, right? So he starts digging and he's upset that he lost his old home. And he's kind of mean towards the people that he meets before he starts digging and stuff. He's just kind of like in a bad mood. And then when he starts to dig, he keeps like hitting these people's like homes that have already, or I say people, but like these animals' homes that have already dug a hole, you know? So he like basically crashes through somebody's wall, and it's, you know, these mice or whatever, and they're like surprised, but they're very like kind towards him. They're like, oh, would you like to stay for dinner or whatever? And he's like, no, I'm trying to find my own hole or whatever. And he leaves without repairing the hole. And as he keeps doing this with other people, there's like a unique interaction with each one, and they're all nice to him. And he starts realizing, oh, I need to be nice to people. So he repairs the holes that he makes and starts like helping these people out. And then all of them together help him find a space where he can dig a hole, and he kind of finds his place in the community.
Yeah, you know, I just realized it's actually National Bunny Day as of when we're recording this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like this will come out after that, but it's pretty serendipitous how that ended up happening.
But yeah, I didn't find them repetitive. Like, it was repetitive in the sense that he kept like crashing into these people's holes, but at the same time, like, they were all different and unique and gave him more and more perspective that he should have of just being nice to people.
Yeah, like, you have that frog who like seems like super lazy and like really tired, but also like reads books and stuff. And it's like, hey, I can relate to that.
Yep, 100%.
By the end of it, like, you know, the rabbit is bonding with everyone, and like he and the frog are like hopping around. So like he finds common ground, pun intended, with all of them, and like really finds a place and like finds a spot that's like comfortable, and it's like, hey, like he has neighbors now, and they're all friends, and I don't know, it's just cute, you know. It's animals, and they get friendly with each other, and it's I don't know.
And
I love
my favorite Pixar short to come out most recently was Bao. Do you remember that one? I think that's what it's called. It's about the dumpling that grows up. Yeah, I love that one. I knew a few people that hated it, but I loved it. And it actually made me cry. But this one was a really, really good follow-up to that. I think they've been doing really good with their shorts lately, and they've kind of rebranded the name into Sparks Shorts. I think that's what they're called now. Maybe they were always called that. I don't know.
Well, I think Spark Shorts might be kind of an offshoot.
Because they have like that Disney Plus thing too, where they were doing shorts, and I thought that was called Spark Shorts, but
yeah, there's one called Kit Bowl, which was also a Spark Shorts. Trying to like look up if that was like in front of.
Well, I remember it being on Disney Plus when I was going through all the shorts recently, so I mean, it might have been, but
okay, so. It says here that Spark Shorts is done by Pixar. Yeah, so I guess it's like a recent thing.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, because I remember I saw Kit Bowl with my brother at like it was like at this screening where they were showing like award-nominated shorts, and Kit Bowl was one of them, and I really loved that one. You know, the friendship between the kitten and the pit bull, and like they're trying to escape. It's like you're rooting for them. It's like it's suspenseful, and it's like it just works.
Exactly.
So yeah, do you have any other thoughts on Burrow before we move on to Soul?
Not really. I thought it was unique. Like, it was unlike any other Pixar short that I've seen so far, and I'm glad they keep doing these. I hope they don't stop.
Yeah, like they're kind of. I think Toy Story 4 didn't have a short in front of it, which was weird. But like these shorts are a good chance to be experimental and go in different directions. So I do enjoy them, and like they should keep doing
And
them.
also I think it's a really cool way for like up and coming animators or directors or whoever that work at Pixar to be able to get their hands dirty a little bit and make something not a full-length movie, but an experimental shorter film that's easier and less time consuming to make, to show kind of what their skill set is.
Yeah, to kind of show the breadth of
Right.
what they can do. Can you imagine Pixar doing a feature-length 2D movie? Like, how would everyone react to that?
That would be cool. Like that, I think it would be like out of left field and people wouldn't have expected it for sure. But I really miss 2D animation. Like it's kind of gone by the wayside. And although I do like 3D CGI, I do also appreciate the art of 2D. And like even I'm thinking of Studio Ghibli and how just beautiful those films are. And like I can't even get enough when I watch those. And those are all 2D. So I think you get the right talent on board, the right background. With the people with the right background, I should say, you could make a really killer 2D Pixar movie.
Yeah, like I've only seen a few Studio Ghibli movies. My favorite of the ones I've seen is The Cat Returns, and yeah, the animation is like really great for those movies. And it's been like forever since like Disney's animation studio did like a 2D movie. Like the most recent one I can think of is The Princess and the Frog, which is 2009.
Right. Yeah, so that's been like almost a decade, or over a decade. But yeah, I mean, I have not seen The Cat Returns, but I am working through all the films, and my favorite for sure, and it's been my favorite for a long time, is Howl's Moving Castle, followed by Spirited Away, I think.
Okay, yeah, I did see Howl's Moving Castle, and I remember enjoying it, but I can't remember much about it other than like the moving castle moving to like down the hill. Spirited Away, I guess I'm in the minority thinking that one was okay. Like it felt like Alice in Wonderland, sort of, but it felt like it kind of dragged in places for me. But I know that's like a super unpopular.
Yeah, I mean, like I totally get that. I think it is popular just because of how like unique it is and just how dreamlike it is. Like I would say that with most of the Studio Ghibli films is that like they feel like you're watching a dream, and I think Spirited Away kind of captures that the best. But yeah, I would say that maybe the pacing on that could be better in some areas.
Yeah, and like Dreamworks has done like really good looking 3D animated movies, but I also miss when they used to do 2D. We had like Prince of Egypt and Road to El Dorado. And it's like, I think Sinbad back in the early 2000s was like the last 2D feature-length film they did. And it's like, wow, that's
I haven't seen Sinbad, but I'm interested in watching it. I love Prince of Egypt so much. I just the score alone is amazing.
Yeah, Prince of Egypt is like at the top for me. I think I saw Sinbad once when it was on Cartoon Network years ago, and I remember thinking it was just okay, but like I don't know if like a rewatch I might appreciate it more or like it less.
You never know. It's funny you mentioned that because when I was a kid I saw Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, and I hated it then. And I saw it on, I forget what it's on, maybe HBO Max or something like the other day. And I'm like, I'm going to try this again. Maybe my opinion will change. It's so bad. Like I can't even describe to you how bafflingly terrible it is. But yeah, sometimes opinions change. Sometimes even when you're a kid, a movie is so bad, you hate it then.
Right. Or like, sometimes we'll grow up with a movie like Space Jam, and even though like some people say, "Oh, that's kind of a bad movie," like you'll still grow up and like still love Space Jam and be
nostalgia
like, hey, that's
goggles.
a good movie. Yeah. Longtime listeners of this show will know that like Space Jam has been mentioned like several times.
That's one I really need to revisit because I haven't seen that since I was a kid, and I remember liking it when I was a kid, but it was never like one of my favorites or anything. I think I only saw it a couple times, but I didn't hate it, so it will be interesting to see what I think about it now for sure.
Yeah, I grew up with that one on the VHS, and I rewatched it on HBO Max within the last couple months, and I was still entertained by it. Like, I do like the humor.
And I always love seeing Bill Murray and Wayne Knight when they pop up and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, this was the first thing I ever saw Wayne Knight. And, like, as a kid, when my brother was watching Jurassic Park and he was playing Dennis Nedry, I was like, oh, it's Stan from Space Jam. And, like I didn't know much about his character in Jurassic Park. So, like, when the Velociraptor or whatever it was like, eating him, I was, like, feeling really, like, unsettled by that, like, seeing Stan from Space Jam get eaten. And I think at some point my brother told me, in the third movie they get the people out of the dinosaurs' stomachs, like as if they wouldn't have been digested. Because like back then I didn't know how stomachs worked, or like it didn't even occur to me that like after you chew a person, like it'd probably be hard to like put them back together.
Back then I didn't know how stomachs worked. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And like when I later saw Wayne Knight on Seinfeld as Newman, like I got very familiar with Newman over the years, but it's like whenever I see him in Space Jam, I still don't see him as Newman. It's like a completely different character, you know? Yeah, so acting,
I guess. No, he has pretty good range, I think, like in the things I've seen him in. But yeah, I don't know. Would you call him a character actor though? Like I don't know what I would refer to Wayne Knight as.
Well, what exactly is a character actor?
Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a character actor is somebody that's like known. Well, here, I'm gonna look it up just so that I don't butcher this. But I looked this up just a few days ago, actually. But I don't want to say it's like typecasting, but that might be exactly what that is. Character actor, an actor who specializes in playing eccentric or unusual people rather than leading roles. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I would call him a character actor.
Yeah, I guess he could fall in that category. Like, one of the early things back when I was a kid, I didn't know that this was him doing the voice. But like, have you ever heard of My Favorite Martian? Like, there's a TV
with
show,
Christopher
but then
Lloyd,
there's a movie in the 90s.
Yeah, I think I've seen that once.
Yeah, I had that on VHS as a kid, and I didn't know that it was a bad movie, apparently. Like, I haven't watched it recently, but like, looking back, it's like, yeah, that movie had some weird stuff, and like, innuendos, and it was weird. But, yeah, so like that was the first thing I saw Christopher Lloyd in, and of course later I saw him Back to the Future. Just love him as Doc, and just the energy he brings to that. But Wayne Knight did the voice of Zoot, which was, you know, the suit that Christopher Lloyd's character Martin, the Martian, wears in the movie. It's like this sentient alien suit, and it's like, that was a very eccentric character. It kind of reminds me of Bender from Futurama. And Wayne Knight recently voiced the Penguin in the Harley Quinn cartoon, funny enough. Yeah, and Jason Alexander voices Cy Borgman, who's like this old landlord who is also a cyborg, and it's like super... It's super awesome. Funny, like that show.
Little Seinfeld reunion there.
Yeah. Wow, I don't know how we got there, but getting back to Soul. So yeah, this movie, it follows Joe Gardner, who's voiced by Jamie Foxx. He's like this music teacher, and he's teaching the middle school how to play like different songs, and like you can tell that he really cares about his job, and like the students love him and enjoy learning. There's that one kid in the corner who's like kind of upset about not being good enough, but then he gives him like this inspiring speech. Like, what do you think of that moment?
It was like I don't know, like there's moments in all these Pixar movies where you could just take that clip and like put it on Instagram or YouTube or whatever and just have that be like a moment that people go back to time and time again, and that's exactly what this was. And it makes you tear up, and you realize like what a good person and what a good teacher that Joe is, and how much passion he has for his students and whatnot, and how he's willing to go out of his way to show a student like one-on-one attention, and to tell them that they're special, and share his experiences, and show that it's okay to fail, and what to do to move on. I really love that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like The Last Jedi, like
Right.
the greatest teacher failure.
That's exactly what I thought of.
That sort of thing. But yeah, so like he's very comfortable being like this music teacher, but he also wants to perform in front of other people, and it's like who can blame him, like wanting to like share his talent in front of like a crowd. I feel like it's something that people can relate to.
I think he's always had this like want and this need, and they kind of explore this a little bit, to really share his talent with the world. And he is happy as a teacher, but he also wants his chance at the big time, not in a selfish way, just in a way like he wants to make his dad proud. And I don't know, I feel like there's so much going on behind his want and like his motivation to play on stage and stuff. And it is cool to see like how he accomplishes that.
Yeah, because there's this place called the Half Note Club, and like as we learn throughout the film, like he went there when he was younger and was like just in awe at like the jazz musicians who'd perform there, and it was like, yeah, I want to do that. And like he finally gets the gig, and like he impresses people, and they let him like be the opening act. And yeah, like he does a phone call, calls his like family, and we don't learn until later on that he has like a wife and a kid, and it's like it's something they keep close to the chest throughout the movie. Like it's like we're learning more about him, like they have like this mystery while all this stuff is going on, and like he falls down this manhole, and that's when things get really weird.
He goes into the afterlife or whatever.
Yeah, because like his soul gets like separated from his body, and like he's on this like stairway, or I guess escalator, to like the great beyond, but then he like ends up in the great before, which is where like souls develop personalities before going to Earth, which I thought was a really interesting
and
concept.
Not to mention the art style that like changes, because you got like a more realistic like style when they're up in the physical world, but when he goes down, it's like this ethereal, like wispy kind of style, and everything's just so like I don't know, it's just an artistic shift that really works for what this world is. And just the concept of the great before, that's something that I've never really heard of being explored before, and it's really cool, like the possibilities that open up when he kind of pushes his way through that barrier and falls all the way down to the great before.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of like 2D stuff, like you'll see the outlines of like certain characters, but you get like the 3D with all these different souls, and it's just a nice mix, and it really shakes things up like artistically, 100%. I think. And yeah, I don't know if the Great Before is based on something in particular. Like I don't know if it's like a concept that is believed by certain people, or maybe it's from a text, but I did enjoy that concept. It's kind of weird to think that like your personality might develop before you're like even born, because like I feel like we're used to thinking of like growing up and developing our personality like
it's kind of a gradual thing. But I thought about that too. I was like, isn't that something that happens when you're alive? But like I think for the purposes of this story, they did find a way to make that make sense, and I'm surprised by how they did it, because within the context of the movie, I was like, oh, I can totally see this happening.
Yeah, because the way they explain it is that souls develop personalities, and then when they go through life, like life is an active discovery and rediscovery. So it's like trying to figure out who you are, and like unlocking the knowledge of like what is your personality. And I thought that was such a mind-blowing thing for me. The way they explained it is like, oh, that makes so much sense. That like like I don't know, like maybe like I don't know, for example, like your soul, like if it was in the great before, like maybe it would find out that it's like super into like I don't know, the amazing world of Gumball and that type of animation. And it's like when you're like on Earth, you don't discover that you're really into that until like you see that show on TV or something. I don't know. And so he meets 22, who's one of these souls in the great before, voiced by Tina Fey, and is kind of cynical about everything. Like she's saying, "Oh, what was so great about Earth?" And it's like, I can kind of see how Earth might seem kind of boring and whatnot.
Yeah, and this character of 22 is just so fun. I loved her and just the effect she had on the movie as a whole, and like the kind of nice foil she was to Joe as a soul. And I don't know, she just seemed like a really fun person to have along on an adventure,
Yeah, they have like this mentor-mentee relationship, but it's like 22 is like still questioning, and I guess 22 is different from like his music students in that like 22 is willing to ask all the hard questions and be a bit antagonistic and is not always super happy with the advice he's giving. So it makes for a nice foil, like you said. But Joe is like trying to convince 22 that like life on Earth is great, and like there's music and there's pizza, although they can't like taste the pizza as souls. So it's like he's like, whoa, okay, you have to go to Earth, you need to taste this. It's like,
yeah.
And he's like, there are all sorts of toppings you can put on pizza. There's pepperoni, cheese, mushrooms, pineapple, although there's a huge debate on that one.
I personally think pineapple is great on pizza, but that's just me.
So I'm not like against it, but I prefer not to have it on my pizza. But if it is on my pizza, I can like tolerate it.
Yeah, it's not like the worst thing ever.
I don't know. It's like it's a weird thing, I guess. But by that same token, like people do put like pineapple on ham and stuff like that, and like I guess on the surface, it's kind of weird that it's a debate. I guess. It's like a whole is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween or Christmas movie debate. Yeah. It's like it's both. Like I don't know.
Just be glad you're not Zach Arnold and you're allergic to it.
Yeah.
I always feel bad whenever he brings that up because I'm like, oh man, you can't enjoy the wonderful taste of pineapple.
Yeah, I do think pineapple juice like is fine, but there are like other juices.
Yeah, like basically I only really like fresh pineapple, the fruit. I don't really like pineapple flavored things. I don't like pineapple juice really. Like there's definitely a line for me, but pineapple on pizza I think is surprisingly a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, could be worse, I guess. Like it's not I don't know, rusty nails. Yeah. Like
rusty nail pizza, I'm gonna go ahead and say I would pass on.
Oh man, that sounds like it could be the
welcome to Rusty Nails Pizza Place. I would try it, but as long as there's no actual rusty nails.
Yeah, but so they go on this journey and like they get glimpses of Joe's life, and like apparently like when he's like in the state that Joe is in, he forgot that he has like a wife and a daughter, but he's like rediscovering it as a soul. And it's like, I have to go back, and like we see that like his body is like it's like in a hospital, but like it's like there's this disconnect between him and his body, and it's like he has to go back, like not just for the performance but also for like his family. And like 22 is like still wrapping her head around like all these different concepts of like family and all that stuff, but she does, like, when we get down to it, want to help him,
and
like, get
also
back.
the reveal of 22 being related to somebody who was in the hospital as well that she visits. I thought that was really cool.
It kind of felt like one of those time travel moments where, like, I don't know, you go back in time and meet your parents. Yeah, that was the interesting interaction.
Also, it was really cool that Joe he goes through this whole journey as a soul, and then gets this like otherworldly experience basically, and then gets to bring all of those back with him, all those experiences and lessons that he learned when he does finally wake up and eventually like make it on stage. Like, man, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but it's just, I love the way it all just kind of flows.
Yeah, I mean, there are the people in the great beyond who are like, the numbers are off, and they're trying to tell Joe that he has to like go back like to the great beyond, and he's like, no, this is my dream, and this is my family, my parents, my wife, my kid, like, I'm not done yet. And it's like he has to like really convince them, and it's like 22 says that she like they come up with this deal that like, well, this is like toward the end, but 22 says like she'll agree to go to Earth if they let Joe live longer, like a longer life and go back to his body. And it's like this really heartwarming moment, and there's this speech, and it's like they relent, and they're like, all right, fine, Joe can go back. And it's this very triumphant moment when he's like playing like on the stage, like after waking up, and like his whole family is there. And like, what do you think of this whole like,
it was really sequence? Heartwarming and just kind of a culmination of like what the movie had been leading towards, and really made me think about how like sometimes it's it's the journey, not the destination, and sometimes it's both, and how the destination in this was like him performing around his family and friends and loved ones, and just kind of enjoying life, and how Soul, like the title of the movie, really kind of had a double meaning, because yes, he was a soul, but also just soul music, and how music touches your soul, and all of that just kind of made sense in that moment, and it was just a really beautiful way to end it all.
Yeah, there's a great blend of jazz and soul music throughout the movie, like both diegetic and non-diegetic. And like, I love the music that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did for this movie. It just like, it fit, and it's like every once in a while I'll like listen to the soundtrack.
It's one of those soundtracks that you like. I know the movie is kind of about music, but like when it actually came out, I was like, I have to download this.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I'm used to thinking of Trent Reznor's work with Nine Inch Nails, but this was kind of different for him, at least from what I've heard. I haven't heard like the full extent of what Trent Reznor
well, he kind of like invented a little bit of his own too, because like there was a lot of jazz, a lot of soul in here, a lot of stuff that reminded me of like the Electric Light Orchestra, and a few other things that just kind of popped up as like possible influences. I'll have to like do some research on that, but like just a few riffs and bars here and there where I'd be like, oh, that totally sounds like this or that, and somehow it all still works together.
Yeah, like there's a nice rendition of
for sure, like that's one of the things where I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad they did that. It was like Mr. Blue Sky. What if Mr. Blue Sky was just completely jazz? And I loved it so much.
Yeah. I was trying to remember where else I'd heard Reznor and Ross's music in something recent, and it was
I am HBO about show a third of the way through right now. I'm currently watching it. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Like, I was kind of skeptical, but they really did a great job of like updating it for the present, and like it has it has something to
Right.
say, and it's just
And
really
it was interesting to me that like
shot,
it was
I
a
really
sequel to
enjoyed that
the
one.
actual graphic novel and not the Zack Snyder movie. That made a lot of sense to me in context and was really, really well done.
Yeah, it's kind of like how the Doctor Sleep movie is kind of a sequel to the
Yeah,
Shining
in like
book
different
and
ways, it's a sequel to
movie in
both.
a way, right? Because and like it's trying to adapt the Doctor Sleep novel, obviously. So it's a weird thing to think about, but yeah, it's sort of a
Right.
broad strokes type of thing, I guess. So yeah, like this was a really great sequence at the jazz club, and like the standing ovation that he got, and like everyone wanted an encore from him, and it's like it's just a satisfying, triumphant moment when like people appreciate your art and they
it's
want
validating,
more
and
of
that's
it.
that's I think he was searching for that in a way, like deep down inside, and to see like the look on his face when he finally gets that, like it was a scene where no dialogue was really needed. It was just a lot of clapping and him looking extremely satisfied and happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of did you ever see that Doctor Who episode?
That is it's probably my favorite episode
and the
of Doctor
Who. Yeah, like the final
I
scene is
never
one
not
of the
cry.
best scenes in all of Doctor Who, where like yeah, where they bring Vincent Van Gogh, as they pronounce it, to the art gallery, and like he sees all his work there, and it's recognized, and the dude like says in 100 words why Van Gogh is
good.
like one of the best painters ever. A little while ago, I watched the episode of The Office where like Pam has her like art opening thing, and like Oscar and what's his face are like kind of mean about her artwork, and then after everyone leaves, like Michael comes in and validates her.
Yes.
I like watch that scene,
yes.
but with the music
gosh.
that's like at the end of Vincent and the Doctor.
Both of those are just they totally always works. Make me cry and tear up. I like as a like I love Doctor Who so much, and that episode just stands out just purely on emotional merit alone. And same with The Office. Like The Office is like so funny, you know, and there are emotional moments here and there, but that one is just like a real emotional moment.
Yeah, and like when we get right down to it, like emotion, that's like Pixar's thing, like we said, but like throughout Soul, like there are these remarks from characters here and there, like on Earth, like in New York, who are like, oh, arts, music, those are just hobbies. Like we need to do like real work. Like, but it's like this movie makes a great point of how we need art and we need music in order to like liven up our souls and like re-energize us and give us more motivation to just keep going. And like the music touches our soul and it like inspires us. And it's like it's really sad that like some artists don't get as much recognition or as much pay as they deserve, but it's like humanity needs that sort of thing to like feed
a lot of
feed
like
the soul.
It's weird because art and music are so integrated into culture, it's almost easy to overlook, but like that's such a like it's such an essential part of the human experience, and to see a movie like this that celebrates that is incredible, and the way they did it was incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like growing up, I wasn't that into jazz. Like as a kid, my favorite band was Yes, which is a prog rock band that also dabbled in like pop rock and psychedelic rock. But in middle school, I got into like other prog rock bands, and like some of them have like jazz influences. So eventually, like over the years, I'd hear jazz here and there. It's like, yeah, this is good. Like, I don't usually listen to it, but like, whatever I hear of it, when I hear it, it's really good. It's like, I love the whole improvisation type of thing, how people could just jam and like do their thing. And there's this really good short story I read in school called Sonny's Blues, where like, it's about two brothers, and like one of them is like, I guess, struggling, and he needs to like perform in that sort of improvisation sort of thing in order to feel alive and like get over his blues or like express his blues and what he's feeling. It's like I totally thought of that while like watching this performance, like Joe's like thinking of like the struggles that he's gone through, but also the triumphs and all the loved ones
100%.
that he's talked to along the way. Yeah. And this movie is like so existential. Like it really gets you thinking.
Some of my favorite movies are existential. Like a lot of Christopher Nolan movies are very existential and just really make you think about like what's out there, what could be, what's inside of you. And I think one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies is Interstellar. And there are a lot of parallels between Soul and Interstellar that I didn't expect. And especially like after Matthew McConaughey's character kind of like makes it beyond that singularity there, and he's basically in the fourth dimension. He can see moments throughout time and just the surroundings he's in and all that really reminded me of when Joe went to the great before, and there's just lots of parallels there. I wonder if they drew inspiration from.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
I loved it.
A trip, like, yeah, I was really glad that like I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but I was glad that the ending wasn't what I thought it would be when like a friend told me that there was like a bit of time travel involved. I thought it was gonna be a thing where like Matthew McConaughey would end up like at the beginning of like humanity and turn out to be like Adam. The first human or whatever. I thought that would have been like really, I'm glad it didn't go in that direction, and I was pleasantly surprised with that movie. Yeah, so after the performance, we get like this flash forward because like we see the kid that like 22 has become like walking down the street, and she hears jazz music, and she like goes inside, and it's like this little teaching place that Joe has when he's not like, it's like he mentions that he performs at the club on weekends, but he still like teaches at this place like in between, and it's like during the summer or whatever. And like she goes inside, and it's like, this music, it speaks to me. And like Joe looks at her and he recognizes her voice, and he's like, it's like he recognizes an old friend. It's like, I really love this reunion. It's like
a different perspective that they both have now, but they know, it's like that there's that knowing look, and you just can tell that they're just thinking about that adventure that they had getting to this point, and it made me tear up just thinking about it.
Yeah, so like they're playing music together, and like she also asked him, you seem familiar. Have we met before? And Joe is like, maybe in The Great Before. Yeah. And then it cuts to credits. It's just so
and it just goes right into like, jazz, like that song that he played at the final performance there. It's so good.
Yeah.
There was a very good moment, I think, in the movie that I always think about, and it's when he realizes when he's in the great before that he may not make it back, and he may not be able to perform on stage, and he's kind of sad about it at first, but then he kind of comes to grips with it and finds himself in a place where he's okay with it. And just that transition from that to him being okay with it, there was just a really nice little talk there between him and 22 that I really think summed up the whole movie for me, and in realizing what life was really about. And that's why when he gets to the end finally, it's kind of like he would have been okay if that didn't happen, and it's just kind of like a bonus that he did get to. But yeah, that moment was really good.
Yeah, that was a great one. Another one of my favorite moments, this is from like very early on in the movie when he's like walking through New York, and he like is trying to get to the jazz club, and he like bumps into Jerry Seinfeld, like Jerry Seinfeld's playing himself, and like he like drops his stuff and is like explaining where he's going and to, like the jazz club, and Jerry's like,
and he looks strangely like a bee. Oh man.
Yeah, like his head looks similar to like how he's animated in B movie, like the same haircut, but like
and he just has a name
like
tag
the
on that
rest of
says
his
Barry.
body looks like Jerry Seinfeld's body. Yeah, he's like, oh, when I go to these like coffee hour type of things, I like to write names on my name tag. It
was a great joke for us B movie fans.
Yeah, it's I guess Jerry would have been in the great B4 and would eventually go to the great
Did
B
not even
beyond.
think to say that joke, but you're a genius, my friend.
Thanks. Yeah, this is like such a weird cameo because of like the age-old thing of like Pixar and DreamWorks having that rivalry with like Ants and A Bug's Life and like Finding Nemo and Shark Tale. But I thought, like, I don't know what the companies think of each other now, but this felt to me like a little like tip of the hat to DreamWorks, or at least B movie, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Or Jerry Seinfeld, because like everyone loves Seinfeld, I guess.
That's great. It kind of makes me
like,
wish
that
that
such a great
Jerry Seinfeld
appearance.
comes back to do something like another animated movie. I would love.
Yeah, I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus voiced Princess Ada in A Bug's Life, so like I don't know, do like a Seinfeld reunion in the style of Pixar. I don't know.
Like, or at least all the cast of Seinfeld to do different voices. That would be so cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Like it could just be like one scene in a movie, and it could be like a coffee shop, and like everyone would be like in the know. So I guess with that, we can go into final thoughts and score out of 10. And feel free to use decimals if you want.
Very good, good movie. It's a fresh take on existentialism. It's a fresh take on like giving things emotions. I loved the character of Joe Gardner. Loved the character of 22. I loved the animation style. Like really across the board. I think this is a fantastic film and really accomplishes what it sets out to do, and it made you feel something, you know. And I think at Pixar's best, that's what their movies do, is make you feel something, and it's really hard to do with a movie is to give you an emotional response, and Pixar has become an expert on that, and as a company, and I love this movie, and I'll watch it time and time again. For sure. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. Just because I feel like it's impossible to give something a perfect score. Usually, unless it's just like so incredibly good with no problems. Like this movie, I can't even think of any problems. Like there's a few nitpicks here and there, like some of the pacing or whatever, and so I'll give a movie like half a point off because of that or whatever, but 9.5 for me for Soul.
All right. Yeah, I mean, give like 10 out of 10, but like very rarely. Like that's something I'd give to maybe Empire Strikes Back.
Jurassic Park or something.
Jurassic Park's okay.
Oh, really?
But
hot take.
Yeah, I remember when like Zach was super upset when I said that, and he's like, just okay.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Like you press the boom sound.
Forgot about that.
Speaking of Soul, like thinking back to it, it's like that was such a good movie, and I remember like how emotional I got over it, and like even at the time I was like, okay, yeah, this is the score I might give it. Like I feel like I enjoyed it around as much as Birds of Prey, which I gave a 9.5 out of 10 when I saw it at the beginning of this year. Obviously they're like different movies, but like similar amount of quality in my opinion. So yeah, I think I'm in agreement that I'd give Soul a 9.5. Like it's up there. Just existential, makes you think, and makes you feel. It just does all the things. Yeah, and like the reason I don't give it a 10 is I feel like there are like other movies I would still prefer a little bit over Soul. Like it's still like hard to beat, but like you know, like there's still so much.
That's the hard thing with Pixar is that they have so many good movies that are like right around each other as far as like where I would rank them, that to pick a favorite is very hard, and there's like a couple toward the top for me that are like, okay, this is obviously my favorite, and then there's just this whole mess in the middle where I'm like, I wouldn't necessarily say they were my favorite, but they could easily be my number one if I thought about it long enough or whatever, and that's kind of where this is.
Yeah, like I said, I think WALL-E and Toy Story 3 are 10s for me, but like Soul is really close, and like there's just some really good Pixar stuff. I really loved Coco and how it felt so authentic, because like I'm half Mexican, so like there's the Mexican side of my family, and like some of what Coco presented was like, that's
cool.
Yeah,
so do you feel like Pixar does a pretty good job at representation then? Because I've noticed lately they've been like kind of going in a direction of like, let's do movies for other audiences too, not just like white people, you know, and I've really appreciated that effort and that attempt, and but that's me speaking as a white guy. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
So yeah, I think they're making efforts to have more representation. I mean, blue characters, so yeah, that's
elf representation.
Onward. No, I'm kidding. But like, yeah, I think because like even though like A Bug's Life is like bugs, like not people, it's like those are like white voice actors by and large. There might be exceptions, but I can't think of anything. But yeah, like thinking back to much of Pixar's earlier films, it's like, I guess there wasn't as much representation. And I mean, even in The Incredibles, like Frozone could have used more screen time. But like, it's like mainly about the family, I guess. But yeah, I think in recent years, or maybe like now, they're like swinging in that direction of having more representation, which I think is really good. Like people want to be able to see themselves in these animated movies. It's like, it's just not one mirror in front of one type of people. 100%. Like the mirror should be in front of Earth, you know? So yeah, we're in agreement that like Pixar should keep doing those types of things. Thanks for joining me on this episode. Where can people find your stuff?
Twitter at Jake Damon. You can find me on Instagram at Jake W. Damon, unfortunately, because I haven't gotten Jake Damon back yet. Not that I ever had it in the first place, but I deserve it. It's mine. And then you can find my art account, which I post to occasionally, at Jexpatch, Jexpatch. But yeah, Steven, thank you so much for having me on. This podcast is amazing. I love it, and I love being in this.
Yeah, for sure. If you would like to email the podcast, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let me just check if there are any emails. Probably not, but just to be safe. Yeah, no emails, just spam. As for my plugs, I am at Steven Schinder on Twitter and Instagram, Steven Schinder Storytelling on Facebook, and you can also follow Culture Slate, which I'm editing and writing for. They are at Culture Slate pretty much everywhere. And you can find my fantasy horror comedy novel, Lemons Will Make Rain. It's on Amazon. More info on that at stevenschinder.com. But yeah, anyway.
Dude, you wrote a book? What the heck? What's it called again?
Lemons Will Make Rain. Yeah, it's been out for like a year and a half.
Lemons like rain. Oh my goodness. Dude, I am totally biased. Dude, so I've wanted to write a book. I don't know. I still haven't settled down on an idea, but like I am definitely gonna read this just because it's so cool. I didn't know that you wrote. That's awesome. That is so cool. So like, wait, how long have you been writing for? Like,
yeah, I wrote bits of it in like 2015, like October of that year, and then wrote more bits in February the next year. Because I had like some creative writing classes, and I wrote like a couple of short stories, and eventually ended up cannibalizing those into the story. And Like this was a story I tried
Yeah.
for NaNoWriMo, but then I like got super busy, so I didn't like write much. Like originally the book was gonna be more grounded, more realistic, but then in August 2017, I decided to
Okay.
add more supernatural and fantastical elements. So I got back into that. The next month, I started studying abroad in England for that semester, and I got inspiration from that and wrote a bit more as I went along. And then I continued writing more bits throughout the rest of that year of college. It was my senior year. And then after I graduated, I wrote for like a few more months. I think I had like a draft ready in September or October, and then I sent them to friends and to like be beta readers and give me feedback. And a few months later, like after like going through all that feedback, I went through like the final edits. I think it was in like January, February, and then March. March was when March in 2019 is when I put the finishing touches, and then
it's not a novel really, but I have been working on like a poetry book for the last like basically 2 years, and I think I'm up to like 120 or 150 poems or something like that, and so I have to like format it and stuff, come up with some art for it, but I'm going to publish that pretty soon. But dude, I'll totally send you a copy if you want it.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, I write poetry like every now and then too.
Yeah. Well, the reason I got into it was because like, I had a friend that I worked with at this restaurant once, and like he wanted me to do a cover art for his poetry book, and I'm like, poetry book, that's awesome. So I read it and I was like, I could totally do this. And so I spent like months just writing poetry, whatever came to mind, this and that. And it was so therapeutic and so fun. And like, I got hooked on it. And like, I've always been into writing and creative writing and stuff, but this was like a new thing for me. And it kind of opened up like a whole new possibility. And I'm like, I'm going to do my own book. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Writing poetry and lyrics is very therapeutic. Like, especially
depression,
when you're feeling like extreme sadness or like depression or even like extreme happiness. Like I feel like I need to feel an emotion like super intensely in order to like get inspiration to like write it. I can't just be like
I'm right there with you. It's just I don't know, there's just
mood or whatever.
I feel like I've gotten into so many different like forms of art over the last couple of years, just because like I went through a huge point in my life where I was extremely depressed. Like this last 3 years, I've been really working through that. I've been trying different like medications and stuff, but a lot of what has helped is just making things, and writing poetry has been a big part of that.
Yeah. And like poetry and lyrics and creative writing.
But
like
dude,
like,
it's I just your book's gonna be here like October 1st or 3rd or somewhere in there, it says. So somewhere between there. So I'll let you know what I think of it when I read it.
Appreciate it.
But anyway, dude, thanks again, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, and without further delay, have a good day.